So, The Boys Season 2 has recently come to a close. We are all waiting for Season 3. And I was thinking of making a video about the character of Stormfront throughout the entirety of Season 2. I've always found this part of Season 2 to be very interesting and very unlike Season 1. So I think it's really relevant to talk about, both for political reasons and for, reasons of the show and how it portrays this so well. So yeah, that's what this is going to be about. It's going to be episode to episode, all about what Stormfront's about. So yeah, we'll start with episode 1. In Season 2, Episode 1 of The Boys, Stormfront actually isn't in this episode, but there is a scene I briefly want to mention and talk about. The context of what's going on in this episode is that the Seven is looking for a new hero to replace the Deep, and also because A-Train has health problems, they're just looking for new heroes to be on the Seven. And in this scene, we see that they want a virtue signal. They want to get those woke points, and so the character of Ashley finds a disabled hero who is blind and relies on hearing, and Homelander is very against this. He is ableist, it's bad. He does not like that the hero, Blind Spot, is disabled. He thinks that is freakish and it disgusts him. That is absolutely not what he is looking for. So I bring this up because this is a big comparison and sort of foreshadowing into what Homelander is looking for. Homelander's not looking for someone who is disabled. Homelander wants someone who is nationalistic like him, and that is why he takes such a liking to Stormfront later on in the season. There is some resistance at first, but as we'll see, he will be very fond of Stormfront. In Season 2, Episode 2, we are finally introduced to Stormfront, and the way we are introduced is by her live streaming on her phone. Looks like it's Instagram, and what's going on is that Homelander and Queen Maeve are filming one of their, fake superhero movies, and Stormfront is just kind of walking in on this. By this point, she has been officially signed in as a member of the Seven by a character named Edgar, who is a leader of Vought, and this was all done without Homelander's knowledge, and we can see that Homelander is very upset by this. He does not like how Stormfront is behaving. He does not like how she's just kind of walking in and broadcasting him live. He just finds it to be very uncomfortable. I think that's really interesting how Homelander is uncomfortable with Stormfront at first. I think a big reason why Homelander is upset by this is because he wants to approve new members of the Seven. He has that sort of egotistical mindset where he thinks everything should revolve around him. He should be making all the big decisions. He sees himself as the most powerful man in the world. He feels wronged when someone else makes a big decision like this, and you can clearly see his anger. Also, Stormfront is sort of exposing Vought and the whole superhero stuff, literally showing them behind the scenes of what is going on in their movies. And I also find that Ashley trying to cover for this and saying she has no idea what it's about is really funny. We see in the next scene Stormfront and Starlight doing an interview. The interview is very corporate, very milquetoast. All of the answers are pretty forced, especially from Starlight, who has been a member of the Seven since Season 1. What's interesting about this scene is that Stormfront doesn't give politically correct answers and actually speaks her mind, and the statements she makes are kind of pro-feminism. This is really interesting, knowing that later on in the show, Stormfront is revealed to be a full-on Nazi. It's interesting how a Nazi would also have feminist ideals, and this made it such a surprising plot twist to many fans of the season when it was revealed that Stormfront was a Nazi. It was because of this scene. It really sort of took that attention away from her. And I think the reason why she would still have these feminist views while still being a Nazi is because she is a woman, and considering that she's very old, she might have experienced discrimination on the basis of sexism. That's a possibility. And yeah, that's that scene. We'll move on to the next scene. The final scene in episode 2 involves Stormfront mentioning a character named Pippi Longstocking. Pippi Longstocking is an old character from 1945 who has controversies of the work of fiction using heavily racialized language. In the Wikipedia, they mention that Pippi refers to her father as, quote, the king of the Negroes, and I think that this is a very interesting foreshadow, especially since by this point we don't know Stormfront is a Nazi, for her to bring up a character that she idolizes who also uses very racialized language. I think that is very fascinating, and I appreciate the directors throwing that in there as a little Easter egg for people who actually wanted to look into who Pippi Longstocking was. In episode 3, we really start to see Stormfront's racism start to show. What goes on in this episode is Kimiko and her brother, who are Japanese, I believe, are running away from Stormfront as she is violently hunting them down. They run through this building, and as Stormfront is pursuing them, she just outright murders a black family in their own home. And by the public, and maybe even by some of the audience, it could have been interpreted as a weird form of collateral damage, but we can see that she's clearly sadistic and she very intentionally targeted them. What makes this scene so good is that we could tie it to real life, where police officers are using way too much force, getting people killed, just because they want to. And this scene sort of exemplifies that in a hyperbolic sense to show what would happen if the people who are supposed to bring law and order had crazy superpowers. You'd get things like this, where buildings would blow up that are full of entire families, and there would just be mass casualties. It'd be like what we have in real life, but worse. I think that that is brilliant. The other form of racism that is a lot more obvious because Stormfront herself admits to it is when she is murdering Kimiko's brother and she calls him a yellow bastard and says that she likes to see the lights go out. By this point in the show, we all understood that Stormfront was not an ally to the boys. Stormfront was clearly another villain, and a very messed up one at that. The final scene of the episode is Stormfront in front of the media, and we see later on in episode 4 that she is addressing the controversy and saying, oh, it all had to happen. There were bad people. We got the terrorists, the super terrorists that she claimed Kimiko and her brother, they were soup terrorists because they were foreign. And yeah, we'll explore that more in episode 4. Okay, so episode 4, Homelander is really struggling from insecurity as Stormfront is getting all this new clout. She's new, she's talking, people like her, she's making people angry. It's all just getting to him. He's really sensitive to it. And what's getting Stormfront all this clout is her being anti-establishment, or in the universe of the boys, anti-Vought. Vought is pretty much the in-universe version of the establishment in real life. While she's talking about how the action figures and the movies are all like bad and shitty, she's not really anti-establishment. She wants to reappropriate Vought and change it to make it about the politics, not the movies or the heroes. It's about the politics, because that's what really matters to Stormfront. It's not the fame, it's not the publicity, it's the politics. And that also matters to Homelander. Homelander does what he does mostly for political reasons. I mean, he's very motivated by his conservative ideals. And so for Homelander to see that she's getting all this clout makes him jealous. He's a reactionary, he's very insecure. That's just kind of how dashy people are. They're very insecure. And Stormfront later in the episode actually confronts Homelander on that, which is interesting. What happens next is that we see Stormfront in the past when she went by a different hero named Liberty, and we learn that Stormfront's really old. Her power comes with the ability to not age. So she's really old, and she pretty much just kills a random black person for no reason other than that just he's black. Because he's black, he's scum, and Stormfront needs to take care of that because she's the superhero. We learn that the family of this black person that got murdered was only compensated $2,000 and pretty much told to keep quiet about it. And the scene is incredibly realistic. This happens in real life. Police brutality happens all of the time. There's just hate crimes that go on, and they pay people to just not talk about it. More and more nowadays, we're seeing that this stuff gets out and that there's less paying people. People aren't putting up with that anymore. But in the past, that was something that totally happened. Like, why wouldn't they do that? If they're going to be racist and they're going to kill people, you know, why wouldn't they pay people off? And these people are scared. Like, what if they come after them next? Especially in the context of this show where the people doing this have superpowers and can just instantly go to your place and end you. That's really scary. And I love how The Boys kind of takes these real life ideas, real life concepts and tragedies that really do happen and exemplifies it and exaggerates it a bit, but still makes it really understandable. And I hope that a lot of viewers do understand what this show is trying to say. The final scene of the episode is Homelander looking at a bunch of memes, and we'll go through each meme one at a time. So if we look at these memes, we have, she has no sympathy for bitches, it's not that important. Then we have Homelander tries to save the city, can't even save his reputation, just making fun of Homelander, saying he's goofy. Saving America, lol bitch, same sort of thing. If you're going to be political with your memes, it's good to make your memes target the person that you are against. Stormfront isn't necessarily against Homelander, but she wants to get more clout than him, so this is kind of the method that she's using. Black Noir's on his phone. Did you hear about Stormfront? The tea is scalding, sis. So yeah, reappropriating that sort of language, and just there's drama with Stormfront. Laughing at Homelander. Just laughing at Homelander. Me receiving the glory of Stormfront's posts. Stormfront, everyone, Homelander. Yeah, so Stormfront is literally trying to replace Homelander because she just thinks that he's not doing his job good enough, you know? Searching for a single fuck to give about Homelander. I think the boys team actually had fun making these. These are kind of amusing. Then there's Girls Get It Done. I don't know. I don't really know if that's considered a meme. It's just kind of thrown in there. Homelander's mind when he found out a woman is stronger than him. That's actually pretty funny. That's actually pretty funny. Stormfront's just trying to be the superior, better woman version of him. Although that kind of changes later on. Go home, you're drunk, as Stormfront is T-posing. Me and the squad on our way to respect Stormfront. Yeah, we got the simps. Bye, Homelander. Okay. Someone please touch my tiny dick. Alright, we're making fun of his dick. Homelander's career. Stormfront just yeeting that. Caught one for you, Homelander. Super terrorist. That's literally what happened. That's literally what happened when she stole the clout for killing Kimiko's brother. Homelander wanted to do it, and Stormfront just kind of snatched that. Stormfront in a trash can. Okay, they're literally saying Stormfront is Jesus in this one. Stormfront content me, internet. It's the cat. It's the cat meme where they give the pill to the cat, but it's real. It's not drawn. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's interesting. Hating Homelander burns 400 calories an hour. Okay, it's a fun fact. When will Homelander actually save us? See, because Stormfront, she's actually trying to do activism. She's actually trying to resonate with the people. Homelander just doesn't know how to do that. And she says that straight to his face. Homelander's a clown. Test me, bitch. Okay, kind of a cringy meme. The real leader of the Seven. It's just Stormfront's head photoshopped on Homelander. Okay, so these next few memes are actually from a future episode, but I'm just covering them in this section because we're talking about memes, so I might as well. These memes are pro-Homelander and are made for Homelander. So the first one is better than here, and we have a third world country explosion, and then we have 9/11. This is calling attention to, is the phrase better than here. He's basically saying that just because we think the third world countries have problems, we as Americans also have the same problems, and there are terrorists here as well. And so it's not better than here, it is here. That's kind of what Homelander is trying to say with this meme. It's taking that phrase and sort of saying, this phrase isn't true. People who say this aren't true. We need to do something about these terrorists. That's pretty much what the meme is. The next meme is opinions don't kill terrorists, and it's just Homelander's face. Essentially, this meme is promoting a war hawkish ideology. You're not gonna politely tell terrorists to stand down and to stop being terrorists. You have to kill them. That's how you do these things. You don't talk things out. You just outright kill them. That's what this means. This one isn't too complicated. Superheroes invade my personal space. It's making fun of the AOC character, Victoria Newman. She's based on AOC, and it's making fun of the idea that SJWs get triggered by everything and things they don't like invade their personal space. That's pretty much what it is. It's not too complicated. The final meme that I found is photoshopped faked, and it's a picture of the dead guy that Homelander actually killed. It was not fake. He just killed an innocent civilian while trying to kill another person who was a suspected terrorist. So he killed the terrorist, but then he also killed the innocent civilian, and it was caught on camera. And so this meme is pretty much just covering for him. And that's really about it. I mean, it's not much of a meme. It's just kind of propaganda, but you know what I mean. It's here. But that's it for the memes. Back to the episode. But anyways, after he's looking at the memes, he goes up to Stormfront and he's upset. He's like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are you making a bunch of memes against me? Like, what is this? What are these memes? And he's just a full-on boomer. And what Stormfront is saying in this scene is that she actually really likes Homelander. She likes his politics. She likes how he's really nationalistic, and she thinks that he really does represent what heroes should be and what America is. She thinks that Homelander is the true man, how the model American should be. That's kind of how Stormfront sees him. And as we know, Stormfront's really old, and she explains that she had to change with the times and learn how to reappropriate her conservative ideology, and that Homelander needs to do that too. And that's really what the alt-right is about. It's about appealing to Zoomers and not to Boomers. Because the Boomers, they're pretty much already on your side. But the Zoomers, they're different. You have to appeal to them. They think a little more. Zoomers, they like memes. That really does appeal to them. And so if you can get within that culture and appeal to the Zoomers, you get those people on your side, and that's really valuable. And that's exactly what the alt-right is all about. It's just appealing to Zoomers and really getting into meme culture. Episode 5, what happens with Stormfront, it's not very much. It starts with Homelander pretty much denying help from Stormfront for the memes in the beginning of the episode. Then Stormfront's talking with A-Train, and she dog whistles about how they started letting different people in and the place wasn't pure anymore. She's obviously dog whistling to refer to black people, and A-Train obviously is catching on. He's just like, tell me what kind of people they started letting in. And Stormfront says that there's quality people and then the other people are just garbage. So, I don't know, she's being racist. The episode ends with Homelander completely changing. The first batch of memes just came out, and Homelander's like, wow, where'd you make these? And Stormfront's just like, yeah, I had my meme guy do it, and we're good. And that's basically all episode 5 is about. Also, because of the success of Homelander's new memes, Homelander and Stormfront get horny together, and yeah, Just thought I should bring that up. Okay, episode 6 is the spicy episode. It's the big reveal. It's when things go down. It's quite the episode, and it starts off with a very disturbing scene of Homelander and Stormfront literally getting off to police brutality. They straight up just kill this man who did rob a place. He did do a bad thing, but they just straight up kill him, and they make the excuse that, oh, he'll just get out eventually. And yeah, they just kill him while gaining sexual pleasure from it. So it is quite the scene, and it is a very unique way to express what's going on right now in the real world with police brutality. It's quite the way to express it. What happens next is Stormfront leaves to go to a meeting, as she tells Homelander, but she doesn't actually go to a meeting. She goes to this secret facility with a bunch of superpowered humans that had Compound V put in them, and then she makes one guy kill another guy. What happens there isn't that important, but she's at the point in the relationship where she's not completely comfortable enough to tell Homelander everything, and so she lied to him about that. Now, what happens in this scene is that Homelander is really aggressive, really insecure about Stormfront potentially holding anything from him. Since they had sex, Homelander pretty much thinks that he owns her at this point. He literally grips her neck. Like, he's pretty much acting like your typical insecure reactionary dude who wants, like, a trad wife and wants to control them and is upset when they do anything unexpected. So that's kind of neat. The final scene is Stormfront pretty much like, okay, I'll tell you what's going on. I'm sorry I lied to you. I didn't mean it. The truth is, excuse my mouse, I'm just scrubbing through the scene. The truth is, I'm actually old as shit. Frederick Vought was a Nazi, and he made me, and also I'm a Nazi, and we gotta do stuff about the other races. The other races are infiltrating America, and it's a problem. Basically how the episode ends. This was quite shocking to fans when they saw the episode, but I kind of saw it coming. I didn't know when they were going to reveal it, but I personally kind of saw it coming. Not trying to brag here, but this is the big scene, and if people were still somehow a fan of Stormfront, I hope that by this point they are no longer a fan of Stormfront while watching the show. Next up is episode 7. Episode 7 also doesn't have too much going on. Homelander and Stormfront are at a rally and they are officially together. It's public now, everyone knows. And they're essentially, they start riling up the crowd and they condone the shooting at the convenience store, which I made a video about. You can find it on my channel. And they're basically like, thoughts and prayers, we care, it's all just virtue signaling. Homelander then goes on to talk about how the country used to be great, it's not great anymore, and that it's a nation under God, invoking the name of God to get these people riled up, and how superheroes are invading the area, that's a problem. And then Stormfront brings up the SJWs, Victoria Newman, AOC, how they're pro-immigration and how that's ridiculous. And then they fearmonger and say that we need war, we need to get more heroes, fight harder against this. And yeah, the next scene is basically they're trending right now on Twitter. And the other thing is that Stormfront mentions the rallying of a base, which is interesting because this is kind of what conservatives do, Trump especially, rallying the base against a common enemy. He rallies against the radical left, in quotation marks. He's against the radical left, they're bad, they're the common enemy, and that's how he gets everyone angry, that's how he gets everyone hyped. And that's really all there is to this episode. We're finally on episode 8, and in this first scene, Homelander and Stormfront are discussing the terrorist attack that took place in a government meeting at the end of the previous episode. They're wondering who committed the attack. Homelander guesses that it's Edgar, who is a black man in charge of Vought. Stormfront replies to this by saying he's pretty smart for his kind, which is obviously racist. She's just saying that black people are stupid, and for a black person, Edgar's pretty smart. That's pretty whack. What then happens is Homelander's upset that this is causing a lot of drama and chaos, and he doesn't like it, and Stormfront reassures him that things are going okay, this isn't bad, this is getting people angry, this is getting people excited. Stormfront says that we are a step closer to achieving our goal at gaining fascism, and that there will be no more screaming fans, paparazzi, or monkey shit. I think that's another racist dog whistle for, I don't know, black culture. It's not a good thing to say. And then Homelander brings up how there will be billions of people who are upset, which is very true. Most people aren't fascists. The majority of people are pretty progressive. That's why corporations market to progressive people. Progressives are the majority. It's just that simple. And Stormfront replies to this by saying Frederick Vought had a solution to this. He thought of everything. And I think this implies gassing them. I think this is a reference to gas chambers, but that could just be my interpretation of it. This next scene is quick, and Stormfront's mentioned in it, but I think it's very fascinating how Edgar is talking in this scene. Edgar, the CEO of Vought, is talking with the leader of the Church of the Collective, which is basically a cult, and what they're discussing is A-Train and how he can't be in the Seven because Stormfront has problems with him. These problems are him being black, and they're kind of weaseling around saying that, but that's what they're saying. What's interesting is that Edgar is also black, and he is happily working with Stormfront, and he's the one that decided to get her into the Seven. The other thing that is mentioned is that Stormfront was there when the Church of the Collective was founded, which is interesting and makes sense because the Church of the Collective is religious in nature and a cult, and far-right neo-Nazi type of people, they like their religion. So really cool stuff, real-life connections we can make there, and overall just a neat scene. This scene features Billy Butcher and Edgar, and what's going on here is Billy Butcher's trying to wheel and deal with Edgar, but that's not what's important. What's important is they're discussing Stormfront while this is happening. Butcher's basically like, why the fuck did you hire Stormfront to be part of the Seven? She's bad. She should bother you. And Edgar's like, yeah, I know she's bad, but she makes people angry, and that's good. I like it for the money. Essentially, it's just capitalism. It's just he wants to make profit as the head of Vought, and if Stormfront's going to be marketing for him, that's what he'll do. Even if she's a Nazi and she thinks that Edgar is scum. Edgar has this philosophy of wanting to be one of the good ones. Reminds me of a lot of like Candace Owens or Anthony Bryan Logan, where they're conservative despite it not being good for their interests and their civil rights. Personally, I don't think that the Republican Party is really about protecting the rights of black people. I find that the Republican Party, especially in the RNC, if you look at that, what they do is they really tokenize black people. Like, the percentage of black people within the Republican Party is very slim. It's mostly white people, and when you look at the RNC, they're showing black Trump supporters everywhere because that's all it is to them. It's just tokenism to get them on their side. So it's really interesting how Edgar has this sort of ends justify the means philosophy and is willing to be considered one of the good ones in order to achieve his goals, even if Stormfront bothers him. And he also says that complaining about it is a white man's luxury, and that essentially if he were to complain, he'd be like a dumb black person, and that's bad. Him complaining about racism is bad in his mind, and that is such a fascinating character because there are people like that in real life with all sorts of different marginalized groups. I'd say Blair White is another example. She's a trans woman who pretty much makes content at the expense of other trans people. She wants to be one of the good ones. She wants to be liked and appreciated by the people who would call her a man. And it's really sad. It's pretty disturbing and depressing, but this is real, and this scene is yet another great example of a real-life concept portrayed in the show. This scene's pretty quick. Essentially, Homelander's son Ryan had an anxiety panic attack, and Ryan wants to be left alone after the panic attack, and Stormfront comes by and is like, just talk to him. He's your blood. That's all it is to these people. It's just blood relationships. That's all that really matters, and that lets you do whatever you want with people if it's about blood. An example would be the one-drop rule, which refers to if a person has one drop of black person blood in their veins, they're black and you have to treat them as such. It's an old rule, but that's where I'm getting at with this, where it's just blood to these people and it's a really reductive way of thinking. What happens next is actually pretty funny, honestly. So Homelander and Stormfront are trying to teach Ryan how to use his laser eye power, and Homelander's like, just imagine someone you hate, and Ryan's like, I don't really hate anyone, and Stormfront's like, well, there are these other people out there that are really bad, and they hate us just for the color of our skin. They want to do a white genocide. And it just shows the victim complex of people who think like this. People who think that there are people who want to do a white genocide even though whites are the majority and are pretty much on top of everything. The social class system, the economy. They are socially the most well-off class of people. Yet these people are saying that the world wants a white genocide, or minorities want to commit a white genocide. It's not true, and it's really funny that the show slipped that one in there. We are now about to cover the final battle of the season, but before it kicks off, Stormfront and Starlight are going off, talking to each other, and Starlight's like, the truth's out there, we exposed you, and Stormfront denies this and says it's fake, kind of like how Trump says stuff is fake news. I don't know, reactionaries tend to, when they hear a truth that they don't like, that makes them uncomfortable, they like to say it's fake. It's the same thing with climate change deniers and flat earthers and stuff. They just say everything that is evidence is fake. So that's pretty interesting. But at the same time, in this very scene, Stormfront acknowledges that she is a Nazi and says that people just don't like the word Nazi. And this is neat because a lot of neo-Nazis in our real world avoid using the term Nazi when they describe themselves. They like to call themselves white nationalists, ethno-nationalists, race realists, paleo-conservatives, all sorts of weird, wacky stuff that isn't the Nazi word because they know that nobody will like what they say if they are exposed for what they really are. This next scene is absolutely fantastic, and I wanted to just show it in its full glory, but before I do, I wanted to comment on it and say how, as a girls get it done type of scene, where all of the female characters of said superhero media get together and they fight the bad guy, it's usually portrayed as some sort of elegant, graceful, glamorous sort of thing, and the girls just kind of fight together for no reason. It's pretty weird. Marvel movies do this a lot, especially, but The Boys actually does this really good, where it doesn't look graceful or elegant at all. It's brutal, it's very violent, and the women in the scene happen to be the only people who are capable of fighting each other, as they're the only ones with powers. All of the men in this scene have no abilities, so they can't participate in the fight. So that's pretty interesting. It doesn't feel forced at all, like their typical Marvel movie stuff that we get nowadays. But yeah, really cool scene, and I'll just play it all just because it's good. So we finally made it to the end of Season 2, and this is the end of Stormfront's character for now. She no longer has her limbs, and she is being held at some undisclosed location, and everyone at Vought, Homelander, and Edgar are all kind of like, I disavow the Nazi, and that's really it. I really wonder where it's gonna go in Season 3, if Stormfront will be back, but if this was her entire character arc and her entire story, I think that it was pretty good and pretty well portrayed. I think that Stormfront is a realistic character, and more media needs to do stuff like this. It's really good, and it's really cool to be able to watch a TV show and connect it to real life. So that's gonna be the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed watching, especially if you made it this far to the end. It really means a lot, and I put a lot of time and work into this video, so I don't like to do this often, but if you could subscribe or like or comment or whatever, some sort of interaction, that would mean a lot to me, and I'll be making more videos like this. I also stream every week, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.